Hi, my name is Monica Corton, and I own Monica Corton Consulting, but for the last 30 years, I've been in music publishing. And I have three questions that are rather complex, but I'm just going to do it. If you acknowledge that on January 1, 2021, you are launching version 1 of the MLC licensing solution, and you're going to have a lot of money to distribute for claimed songs and deal with the bulk of the royalties that will be due, plus all of those unpaid NOIs sitting at the Copyright Office for the last 2 or 3 years, how come there is not going to be more than 3 years being given to sort out the unclaimed works before they are thrown into the account that will largely be distributed to the majors, Cobalt and BMG, who collectively own the biggest share and the market share? Second question, I'm confused as to how you are going to source the original MLC database. When Elisa was talking, it sounded like you were going to take everyone's CWR and upload that freshly, which would be great because copyright data is constantly being updated. But Ed Arrow said that the great thing about picking HFA is you're using their database and just augmenting it with newly written songs that are uploaded. The third question, which had to do with panel 4 and matching works. You accurately explained the complexities of getting the publishing data correct. How is HFA and Consensus going to get it done better than HFA's current system, which definitely has issues because under their administration, they caused a $30 million settlement with the NMPA over Spotify royalties and a $30 million class action lawsuit that also was in connection with Spotify. And Spotify was the only large DSP that HFA represented.
Thank you.
Hi, some of you guys know me. I'm Charlie Sanders. I'm outside counsel to the Songwriters Guild of America. I also teach at NYU. I'm chairman of the board of the National Music Council of the United States, and former studio musician and counsel to NMPA, and I served for 2 terms in as a New York governor with NARAS. Little bit of audience participation if you want, because I'm going to ask the questions to you. I thought today was great because it was billed as a kickoff. And what we needed was a kickoff to some very, very crucial issues that are going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars to all of us. And we need to cooperate. We need to show up, as all of you guys did, but we also need to have some serious, hard conversations. And today was not about serious, hard conversations. I always try to be brief, and I'm going to be brief, but there are 3 points that I want to bring up that maybe you'll agree with me and maybe you won't. The first one was we spent the day talking about Unmatched. Not a single person asked the question, how much money is out there? We've been asking this question for 5 years now. It would not be difficult for those companies that are holding this money to, whatever trade secret protection they may need, to figure out a way to tell us how much of the unmatched money is out there. And I didn't hear a word about it today. I'm hoping, is there anybody in this room who doesn't feel like we deserve to know that information now?
No, we all do. We all do.
Okay. And if Elisa says so, I believe it. I want to finish that point by just saying, yeah, a lot of people are happy when they get a $10 check, but not if they're owed $10,000. From the last panel. In terms of the hour-long discussions that were had today about the database, not a single person mentioned the fact that the Act itself does not include songwriter name data as one of the key data points. We had a panel of creators up here who, when I spoke to them after the panel, were unaware of that. that's not an honest discussion about the things that we need to be talking about. And the Copyright Office is given the authority to correct that without any problem. The Songwriters Guild made sure to hone in on that in its last round of comments, and we are very hopeful that the Copyright Office is going to be able to, through discussion and whatever else needs to be done, to make sure that the database is complete. But we can't ignore that issue because it was raised often during the legislative process and was never addressed. And the third, my colleague, Ashley is going to be discussing a couple of things with you, but I just want to mention that there are a lot of sources of information out there coming from the independent creator community. The Tricordist is out there, Digital Music News is out there, and they're reporting on issues that we all need to follow. Most of those issues involve oversight by the government. And the Songwriters Guild of America, and I'm only speaking today on behalf of SGA, is highly confident that the Copyright Office is the correct place for the oversight to take place, and that we simply want to repeat over and over and over again that there are built-in conflicts of interest in this law. We knew it when it was enacted. And the folks who enacted it gave the authority, expansive as it is, to the Copyright Office to keep an eye on what's going on. It is imperative in a situation like this where we do not have a balanced board of directors, unlike Sound Exchange, that the rights of creators are protected by the government agencies that have been given the authority to do so. So I'm just going to end with that terrific kickoff, and we certainly look forward to many, many more opportunities to discuss these harder issues that need to be addressed. Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie. Next up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Owen. I am a working composer, songwriter, a music producer. I'm also president of the Society of Composers and Lyricists, which is your 879th acronym today. We are known as the SCL. Okay? So all I wanted to say was, or I posed the question that, well, let me just expound on that one little bit more. We are primarily an organisation, or the organisation of which I'm president, the composers and songwriters who work in the audiovisual space, film, television, video games, that sort of thing. We have a membership of over 1,600, and most of the professional songwriters and composers, well, virtually all the professional songwriters and film composers you know are our members. The thing I wanted to address was the fact that one of the great sort of hopes we had for the MLC was the inclusion of David Lowery as an independent voice on behalf of, as Charlie said, an unbalanced board. David's obviously stepped down, and given as his reason for doing so, the bandwidth was too much for him to cope with. And since that time, to the best of my knowledge, no replacement has been put forward. I'm not sure how that replacement is going to be chosen, but I think it would be really nice if the creative community was involved in that choice. So that's basically all I wanted to say as my question. If we know who that replacement is, can we please advertise it to the community? If not, can we please be involved in the choice? That's it.
Thank you, Ashley. Next.
All right, thank you. Hi, my name is Leon Peace, and I'm unaffiliated. I want to begin with first an admission that I did not expect to be asking my question from up here. I planned on asking it from down there. However, I'm a tax lawyer and lobbyist here in Washington, D.C. I've been recently working with the tech industry, and I'm a former musician. 100 years ago when I was a kid, I played with some people in New York that had a record. But my question now is dealing with the advent of this artificial intelligence and quantum computing. And I'd like to ask the experts, how will artificial intelligence and the emerging quantum computing help with the identification of content for royalty payment purposes? A, and the part B is, theoretically, how would it help expedite getting the payments to the artists? So, short and sweet thing. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker.
I'm Michelle Schacht. I brought my visual aid, my Harry Fox and MRI NOIs, and the checks for the micro pennies, and my deep abiding cynicism that despite the Copyright Office's best efforts, that this conversation today, this kickoff, has not been in good faith whatsoever. My cynicism for that is that I have personally been a target of quarantine, of censorship, of silence of dissent, but that's just me personally. I'm a member of an artist rights community, and I've seen over and over again where the uncomfortable questions, the impolitic questions, are pushed aside for the agenda that is to make this work, as David Israelite put it, at all costs. This was legislation designed to pass. So they took all the uncomfortable questions and put them aside so that we could achieve consensus. This is not consensus. This is propaganda, and the panels that I've seen speaking today have left me with one simple question: how much money do you guys owe me? I don't think I'm going to get an answer. There's a lot of concern with the Harry Fox and consensus vendors that are being put here. I wish I had prepared words for you right now. All I can tell you is that there's a party game as I look out, and I'm reminded of it. It's called musical chairs. That we think it's over who wins the last chair. But that's not how the game is played. The game is played when you keep the music going as long as possible, because once the music stops, the game is over. I'm speaking from my heart as a songwriter. I cannot participate in the Spotify or the Napster settlements because not only were my songs, my mechanicals infringed, but my masters. And if I take the settlement on the mechanicals, I have no claims left on the masters. Please look inside your conscience and be prepared for people like me who are angry, who are bitter, who are cynical because we've been cheated. I'm not the only one. And let's really have the hard conversations as this thing proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming today. I wanted to remind you of three things before we leave. First, we have all our educational materials on our website at copyright.gov/music-modernization. We will be filling that out with more educational materials in the new year. Second, this is the kickoff for the policy study. If you are interested in submitting comments to the policy study or participating in a future roundtable, please look to our website in the next year. And finally, we do have one other item of note. If you are interested in the rulemakings associated with the MMA, December 20th is the final time for the NOI reply comments to be due. Those are due at 5 o'clock on the 20th. And thank you one more time for all coming today. Appreciate it.